you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego. And welcome back to the Livin the Dream Podcast, where we start the weekend strong by covering how to properly care for ourselves based on what works best for us individually in order to reach our health, fitness, and wellness goals, and in order to live that dream life. So today we're going to discuss two people's views on gratitude that I really appreciated this week. Author Michael Easter, who wrote the amazing book, The Comfort Crisis, and his newest book, The Scarcity Brain. And then Jim Kwik, memory and learning expert. I found the way that both of these people think about gratitude. I found them very interesting and helpful. And gratitude is just essential for well-being. But the science and advice around gratitude is a little murky. We're going to explore what really makes people grateful. And today, when we're looking at gratitude, it's linked to happiness, it's linked to satisfaction, it's linked to less anxiety and depression, and it may even improve our physical health. What? Yes. But the science of gratitude is surprisingly murky, and some of the current recommendations to improve gratitude may be a waste of time. So what's worth it and what's worth a waste of time? Let's analyze the science and come to some conclusions about how to actually be more grateful. Today, we're going to cover gratitude and how it requires recognizing and appreciating the role of luck and freebies in life, and it's not our default setting. Also, how gratitude comes from experience, sacrifice, service, and the ability to go without, and how this seems to improve our gratitude practice the most. This idea is backed by modern neuroscience, ancient wisdom, and everyday experience. So, on to the details. Gratitude. Important, but a little elusive. Gratitude is hard for humans to experience. Psychologists from Yale tell us that gratitude is critical for happiness. They point to research that finds grateful people tend to be happier. This research is also making sense historically, because gratitude is in all the texts of all the major religions, and philosophers have long talked about the importance of gratitude. Roman philosopher Cicero said gratitude is not only the greatest, but it is also the parent of all the other virtues. Gratitude is the parent of all other virtues. We're even instituted a national holiday around being grateful, Thanksgiving. Yet, being grateful isn't the default setting for us humans. If gratitude was our default setting, then researchers, religions, cultural holidays wouldn't have to be put into place to remind us to be grateful. Humans just are built to acquire. Once we get the thing that we're after, we get a brief hit of pleasure, and quickly, we then shift our focus to the next acquisition. What else can we acquire? How can I get to the next step? Cool, I did that, but what's next? Consider the hedonic treadmill theory. The hedonic treadmill theory. The American Psychological Association explains it like this. Positive and negative events may produce short-term shifts in your mood, but these shifts tend to erode in a relatively brief period of time. This process of adaptation is thought to be responsible for the persistence of mood states, and over time, often in the face of considerable efforts to change them. In other words, we adapt to our surroundings, and everything becomes, quote unquote, everyday, no matter how good we have it in the grand scheme of time and space. What is gratitude? Gratitude is so hard to define. But good definitions suggest that it's a recognition of all the good stuff in our lives that come through no effort of our own. Let's say that again. It says it's a recognition of all the good stuff in our lives that come through no effort of our own. We know gratitude is critical, but scientists don't know entirely what it is that is so critical about gratitude. A paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology explained, gratitude defies easy classification. It has been conceptualized as an emotion, as an attitude, as a moral virtue, a habit, or a personality trait, or even a coping response. A few descriptions that have helped me to kind of better understand what gratitude is researchers in the 1960s explained it as the willingness to recognize the unearned increments of value in one's experience. And then a decade later, another group of researchers explained it as an estimate of gain coupled with the judgment that someone else is responsible for that gain. The benefit or gift or personal gain might be a material or a non-material thing, emotional, spiritual, etc. Those two descriptions hit a critical condition of gratitude. You got something good thanks to no effort of your own. So gratitude is a recognition and an appreciation of the role of luck and freebies in life. Gratitude allows us to lift the veil and see how good we have it in the grand scheme of things, of time and space, and how to be more grateful. How to be more grateful. Popular advice around being grateful has flaws. So how do we actually lift the veil, recognize our luck, and become more grateful? This is where it gets a little complicated and convoluted, and everyone has a slightly different opinion on it. But if we were to look at some popular stories on gratitude, they suggest a few different steps. Number one, you have to choose to be grateful. Number two, you have to express public gratitude. And number three, you have to be careful and be grateful to really recognize the useless things. Choose to be grateful, express public gratitude, and be grateful for the useless things. But when put under pressure, some of this advice does fall short. If we dive into each one of those, number one, choosing to be grateful. First, these stories say we should just choose to be grateful. But does this feel as useless as telling a drug addict to just choose not to do drugs? Like, what are your thoughts? Does that sound kind of like the same thing? The researchers and gratitude experts, they point out to gratitude journaling. So where we write down things that we're grateful for, and this is as a way to choose to be grateful. The practice improved gratitude in a group of study participants. So is that the way to do it? Writing it down in a journal. But there were also some critical catch things to the findings of this study. The study divided participants into three groups. The three groups were gratitude journalers, which these people wrote down what they were grateful for. Number two, they were annoyance journalers, the people that wrote down stuff that annoyed them. And then daily event journalers who just wrote down the events of the day. So one group wrote down what they were grateful for. One group wrote down what they were annoyed at. One group wrote down just the daily events. And the scientists, well, they found, yes, gratitude journaling improved feelings of gratefulness, but gratitude also improved in the group that wrote down the play-by-play of their days. That's interesting. Based off of those iffy findings, the scientists of the paper wrote that there is some truth to the idea of writing down what you're grateful for and how that can boost your gratuity. But they also pointed out that the effect was strongest compared to the group who was asked to write down their hassles. Number two, the problem with publicly expressing gratitude. Second, the gratitude stories recommended that we express our gratitude publicly. It said that we should write 2 short emails or send 2 short messages to each one of our friends in the morning. Maybe they're friends or maybe they're family members or colleagues, and you just want to thank this person for what they do. This has been shown to improve gratitude in studies, but studies on this are short term. And honestly, they really aren't real world. In the real world, this acts like it would probably go well for maybe a week. Like, how long could you consistently do this? It would make your spouse or your mom happy on day 1, and then it would make your father and your daughter happy on day 2, and it would make your best friend and your close uncle happy on day 3, and then you'd feel a little bit of gratitude along the way, right? But then you'd start combing through your contact list and you'd be like, who to send now? You'd send an email to that cousin that you don't really talk to that one coworker who did you a favor just one time, to that neighbor who was out and let your dog out when you were on vacation. You kind of get the point. Soon the emails might become an uninvited little strange message that seems like it might have an ulterior motive. You're now sending emails to random acquaintances just to send emails to supposedly improve your own gratitude. And yes, while I've actually done this with the Accountability Club, where we took a whole week to send a message to 2 people, one that you talk to frequently and one that you didn't see very often. And it was so well received by the people that did it and by the people that got the messages. And so while there are benefits and how this could go well in a whole lot of different ways, you have to realize what works best for you. And yes, it might make you feel joyous and feel free and feel good to write a thankful email to someone that you don't know that well. But how will it make the other person feel when you receive it? Maybe it does make them feel good. Most of the time, actually, it probably does make them feel good in the moment. But also, could it make them feel a little awkward? Like you're maybe being a bit too intimate. Like maybe you should be reported to HR. I don't know. Hopefully not with the right intentions, but you could see how this strategy isn't foolproof and it isn't perfect. Now, Michael Easter and Jim Kwik, they say maybe a better path is to express gratuity for others when the moment calls for it. Thanking your close loved ones and others when they've actually helped you. Manufacturing these thanks so that you can feel better. However, it might backfire in that situation. So let's just put a pin in number 2 and we can move on to the next point, and then we'll come back and we'll decide what we think about that one. Number 3 is, can you be grateful for useless things? Can you be grateful for useless things? Third, the popular story suggests that we be grateful for useless things. Small, useless things. It's explained that stuff that we usually take for granted, like fall air or hot water or a warm, safe home. This feels like the stronger piece of advice out of all 3 of these, right? The stuff that we often overlook. Like if we're always searching for the next best thing, if we are always looking at the things that we don't have, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, we lose sight of all the things that we actually have. So taking a moment every day to just create a little list, a quick list of the things that, let's say tomorrow, you had only the things that you expressed gratitude for today. How many things would you express gratitude for today in order to have what you want tomorrow? Think about everything. Lights in your house, clean water, friends, the place that you live, feeling safe. Just the list could go on. And think about how your mind would shift if you put your head into that mind space, into that vision of all these things are not useless. These things make my life valuable, and I am so grateful for that. And I've heard it explained a little bit like this. You should feel grateful that you have bread and butter to eat until you eat it every day. Then the bread and the butter becomes an everyday occurrence. And it's at that point that you feel grateful for the odd roast beef sandwich that happens. But if all of a sudden you're deprived of butter and bread for a while, when you get that butter and bread back, you will be so grateful for it. Again, we're talking about the hedonic treadmill, always searching for what we don't have, always trying to feel better, but not ever looking into our lives and being grateful for what we already have. So what are the takeaways here? As Michael Easter explained in his newest book, Scarcity Brain, today we have more of everything. This is all encompassing. It applies to everything we're built to crave for survival, but also much more. We have more food than ever. We have more stuff, more information, more influence. There are more mind-altering substances that we can use as coping mechanisms. There are more systems and stimulation than ever before, but also public services, hot water, sanitation, education, sidewalks, healthcare, and so on. The best path to gratitude, modern research and ancient wisdom suggests, is to occasionally force yourself into scarcity. Occasionally force yourself to experience scarcity. This is why tons of religions, they practice things like Lent or Ramadan or fasting. Only when you go without can you realize how great it is to have just what you have and just how much of the modern world is undeniably amazing. We talk about all the things that are going wrong, all the things that we could improve upon, but 100 years ago, if we asked our great-grandparents or we told our great-grandparents about what we have today, man, they would think that we're living in some kind of weird sci-fi scary movie of just heaven, right? Especially when it comes to like getting all the food that we want at our fingertips. We can get anything delivered to us that day, Amazon Prime style. We can look at our phone and have as much entertainment as the world can offer. The best path to gratitude is to go and force yourself into scarcity. And this might take some time. You might want to take some time and go and get secluded in the wilderness. Totally remove yourself from the modern day comforts. Or it could be picking one or two comforts to go without for a while. A month without caffeine, a week without social media, a day without technology. And then when we get those things back, we can truly experience how wonderful they are. Just like you get tolerance to caffeine or alcohol, and slowly the effects of these things are diminished, letting your body rebound and take a break from something allows you to experience that thing fully when you get it back. For example, Michael Easter talks about when he spent a month in the Alaskan wilderness. He wrote about this in the book, The Comfort Crisis. He was away from his wife. He had limited human or intimate contact with anyone. At one point, he was by himself for days at a time with nothing, meaning he was reading the nutrition label of his power bar. He was reading the back of a magazine multiple times. He just had no stimulation. He broke out in a grin for 20 minutes when the first time he came back, and he had hot water running on his hands. He literally spent months out in the wilderness by himself, came back, and just was so grateful for this hot water touching his hands. Can you imagine? He still to this day, years later, has moments where hot water hits his hands and he grins and deeply appreciates it from that experience. Whoa. Occasional deprivation can make the ordinary feel extraordinary. Thanksgiving is a wonderful holiday. It allows us to gather and be grateful, but how we live the other 364 days of the year often determines, one, our overall gratuity, and in turn, our perspective on life, and two, how impactful Thanksgiving will be. This year, see what you can go without. You can apply this logic to possessions, to experiences, to how you use your time. Going without might make you more grateful than any Thanksgiving, all the Thanksgivings put together. Jim Kwik, he talks about gratitude is a powerful tool that not only will make you feel great, but also has profound benefits to your brain health and your overall performance. He says, what you appreciate appreciates. It grows. You can change the molecular physical structure of your brain with your thoughts. You can change your brain with your thoughts. Yes, it is that powerful. When you express gratitude, you can create chemistry inside your body with your thoughts that create physical structures. Your brain releases dopamine, it releases serotonin, which are two crucial neurotransmitters that are responsible for your emotions and that help make you feel good. and they enhance your mood pretty much immediately. Think about if you could control more of how you feel and what state you are in. That would be powerful, and you can. Now, you might wonder, how often should you practice gratitude to reap these benefits? Research shows that even something as simple as writing things down, 3 things that you're grateful for, can significantly improve your level of optimism. But remember, just writing them down may have its setbacks. And who couldn't go for a little bit more optimism, right? Jim Kwik talks about having his own gratitude journal where he writes down the things that he's grateful for. And he actually goes back and when he's not feeling well, when he's feeling a little down, when he's maybe a little bit feeling depressed, he goes back and he reads these journals months and even years ago from his logs back in the day to lift his spirits when he's not feeling well. That's pretty cool. But it's not just about feeling good. Gratitude can improve your brain function. Studies have shown that gratitude can improve your decision-making skills, and it can also increase your productivity. And it does this by activating your prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain right in your forehead, right behind that third eye center. It's responsible for critical thinking, rational thought processes. And for anyone who has struggled with sleep, I know that this is a huge challenge for some. Practicing gratitude may help you sleep better and sleep longer. There's a study done in the Psychological Science Journal, and by simply writing things down, the few things that you're grateful for before you go to bed, it can be shown to reduce worry, rumination, the anxious thinking that often keeps us up at night. So gratitude not only improves our sleep, which can improve our daily performance, and it compounds from there, but it also improves our self-esteem. In a world where we are constantly comparing ourselves to others on social media, keeping up with the Joneses, our neighbors, we are comparing our worst days to everyone else's highlight reels. We are often comparing our chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 23. Remember, social media is not real. On social media, it's often greener because of the filter that people are using. The filter. There's a lot of artificial experiences going on out there in the social media land. And rather than just being resentful or jealous over people who might appear to have more than you have, which could be a major culprit in reducing anyone's self-esteem, the strongest of anyone, I feel like when we are grateful, that grateful people are more likely to appreciate others' accomplishments, actually feel good for those that are crushing it. Because it also rewires our brain in a way that if we got upset when people are succeeding, then we are unconsciously telling ourselves that when we succeed, people are going to be upset and jealous at us, envious at what we're doing. That's a terrible feeling subconsciously. Remember, we don't have to wait for a greater life to feel grateful. You start feeling grateful, and then you'll have a greater life. We don't have to wait for a greater life to feel grateful. You start feeling grateful, and then you get that greater life. So you can start incorporating gratitude into things like your morning routine or your evening routine before you go to bed. You can keep a dedicated book or journal or notebook that keeps all the stuff that you want to write down. You can keep it with you. It just takes a few minutes every day. I do mine on my cell phone. There is some science that says if you write stuff down, there's a little bit more better impact, but I just do whatever I can do consistently because whatever you can do consistently is what works best for you. It doesn't have to cost a lot. This could also help you mentally and emotionally acknowledge the good in your life, and you could do gratitude meditations as well. The science behind gratitude is so interesting. Gratitude, just like your brain, it's like a muscle. If you don't use the muscle, you will atrophy and you will lose it. If you don't use this part of your brain that expresses gratitude, you will lose it. And if you're always thinking the negative, you're reinforcing this neurological pathway that will make it more likely that you go down that negative route anytime a neutral or whatever situation occurs. If you don't use it, you will lose it, and what you use will be reinforced and strengthened. The more you exercise your grateful thoughts, the stronger and more resilient all of that will become. Gratitude isn't just good manners, it should be a part of your lifestyle. It's part of a powerful mental health regimen. Dopamine is associated with feelings of satisfaction, feelings of pleasure, and doing these gratitude exercises lights up your brain reward pathways. Gratitude is a key for emotional regulation. It impacts that part of your brain called the limbic system, the part of your brain that is responsible for emotional experiences. This can enhance self-love. It can enhance empathy. This is the same kind of psychology that Mel Robbins talks about when she promotes giving yourself a high five in the mirror every single morning. Does that seem a little corny? Does that seem a little quirky? Giving yourself a high five in the morning? How much power could that possibly have? I recommend you reading her book on the high five in the morning. She did a great book there. The name is I'm losing the name right now, but search Mel Robbins. Great book. You're acknowledging yourself. You're acknowledging how far you've come. You're cheering yourself on, and you're expressing that you believe in yourself and that you appreciate all that you've been through and how you're still standing here, strong and moving forward. You're telling yourself that you got this. This has a similar result in your brain and your biochemistry as expressing and practicing gratitude. Who doesn't like getting a high five? I see this all the time in the group fitness world. People come in, they're nervous, they're scared, they're self-conscious. They don't want to talk to anybody. As soon as I give one high five or fist bump, their eyes light up, they're pumped, they feel like they're a part of something, and they get more confidence, and they reach out and they give the person next to them a high five, and it just compounds from there. You can do this with yourself. This suggests that gratitude practices can influence psychological conditions like stress or anxiety. Some people suggest that it can help mitigate some forms of depression, and this is not a short-term thing. Little by little, consistently, a little becomes a lot. And you don't have to constantly live in this state of gratitude. Nobody does. Even the happiest person in the world or the most enlightened person in the world does not spend constantly living their life in a state of gratitude. But there are lasting effects on the brain when you can practice it regularly, especially in those hard times. Regularly expressing gratitude can potentially help train your brain to be more sensitive to the experiences of gratitude in the future. What you're doing is harnessing that area of the brain, your reticular activating system, RAS, which will shine a spotlight on the things that you might want to delete, or the things that you're distorting or disregarding, things that may actually be important in your life, but that we often overlook. Again, the simple things that we tend to take for granted. We are constantly taking in information into our brain. Today, our brains are taking in more information in a single day than our early ancestors hundreds of years ago would have taken in their entire lifetime. Our brain right now, what is going on right now around you? Are there noises, sights, smells? There's all these things. The feeling of your butt on your seat or your feet on the floor, the feeling of your clothes touching your skin. All of that stuff is being interpreted by your brain right now. If you were to take all of it in at the same time and actually focus on everything, it would be overwhelming. It would be too much. So your brain, it takes and it gets rid of some of that stuff. You don't need to feel the clothing on your skin or your feet on the floor all the time, 24/7. So it kind of just puts that on the back burner, but you are taking it in. And that is crazy. It's nuts how overloaded and overstimulated our brains are today. And it's easy to take things for granted. So when you put your spotlight on the things that you take for granted that may be overlooked on a daily basis, that are small, maybe seemingly insignificant, but mean a lot. If you lost it tomorrow, you would really feel it. Those are the things that we can do. We can train our brain to spotlight those. And then in the future, we will be able to receive things a little bit better when it comes to that gratitude category. So let's put it like this. If I offered you $10 million, you'd be so stoked. Well, at least I hope you would be stoked. $10 million. Now, what if I asked you to trade that $10 million for waking up tomorrow? $10 million, or you could wake up tomorrow. Which would you choose? Nobody would take the $10 million. That means that waking up tomorrow is worth more than $10 million to you. Yet, we are out here every day chasing that money, waking up without gratitude that we actually woke up that morning. I do it myself all the time. Damn, I do not want to get up right now. I am so tired. What if we shifted that mindset to, I am so grateful that I woke up this morning? What kind of trajectory would that put us on the rest of the day when we put our mindset in that space? What if the only things that you had tomorrow were the things, the people, the experiences that you expressed gratitude for today? Jim Kwik offers a mnemonic device that can help you reflect and feel grateful. You don't have to wait to have a greater life to feel grateful. You start feeling grateful and then you'll get that greater life. His mnemonic is THANKS. Thanks. T, time. Schedule time and reflect time to feel grateful. Start your day and finish your day by taking time to express gratitude. Maybe you wake up in the morning and even before you open your eyes, you find one or two things that you're grateful for, and for anything that may happen to be front of mind. Then at night, you reflect on a few things that happened that day or people that impacted you that day that you are grateful for. T, time. H, highlight. Highlight the positive moments. We are talking about episodic memory here. Pick 3 things that you're grateful for that happened that day. A lot of times we just go throughout our day, and at the end of the day, we shut it down, we reset, and the next day, we don't even really take time to celebrate those milestones, those little tiny stepping stones that we are hitting throughout the day that gets us over time to where we want to be. Highlight your episodic memory and be grateful for 3 things that happened that day at the end of the night. A. A is for acknowledge. Acknowledge who you are grateful for. Friends, colleagues, family, people you encountered that day, the random interaction that made you feel better at the store. A, acknowledge. N, this one's a big one, nature. A brief walk outside is so important. When you spend time in nature, you can foster greater levels of gratitude. You experience greater levels of awe that we often neglect and don't get when we don't go outside. It's grandeur. It's awe-inspiring properties that nature has to offer. When you think about what you're grateful for while outside, it gives you a new view and a new perspective. Get outside and practice your gratitude. K, kindness. Everyone is facing a struggle that you are completely unaware of. Cultivate appreciation and connection with others and leave people better than you found them. The person that cuts you off on the road, I do this all the time. I get all up in my head about the worst case scenario. This person's a jerk. This person is so inconsiderate. This person only cares about themselves, but you have no idea what they're going through. You have no idea where they're going. I could either spend time ruminating on the negatives and just get myself all bent out of shape and release all these chemicals and hormones in my body that are just toxic, or I could consider the best case scenario. And this, I'm not saying that I do this perfectly. I definitely need to work on this as well. But K, kindness. If we can all try to shoot for that highest level, I think that that's something that could make a whole lot of difference. And finally, S, savor. Savor the small things. I think if we could get one thing out of this episode, savor the small things. The tea or coffee that you get to drink in the morning before everything gets crazy, that little 15-minute time frame where you just have that opportunity to be. A book that you read, your comfy, warm, safe bed. Savor the small things. So thanks is T, time. H, highlight the positive moments, your episodic memory. A is acknowledge the who, the people in your life. N is do it in nature. K is kindness. And S is savor. And as we wrap up today's episode on cultivating an attitude of gratitude, I want to leave you with a powerful reminder from both Michael Easter and Jim Kwik. Gratitude is not just a fleeting emotion. It's a practice that can transform your life. It's about recognizing the unearned increments of value in your experience, appreciating the role of luck and freebies, and going beyond the surface level of common advice. In a world filled with abundance, it's so easy to overlook the everyday blessings that we have. The path to true gratitude, as Michael Easter suggests, often involves occasional self-imposed scarcity. Whether it's a day without technology, a month without caffeine, these moments of deprivation can make the ordinary feel extraordinary when we regain them. Jim Kwik reinforces the idea that gratitude is a powerful tool for brain health and overall performance, and what you appreciate appreciates. By practicing gratitude regularly, you're not only enhancing your mood, but you're also changing the molecular structure of your brain. It's a muscle that, when exercised, becomes stronger and more resilient. And when you don't use it, yes, you will lose it. So as we move forward in our lives, how can we consider incorporating gratitude into our daily life? How can we use Jim Kwik's mnemonic device of thanks? Time to reflect, highlight positive moments, acknowledge those who you're grateful for, spend time in nature, spread kindness, savor the small things. Remember, gratitude is not just good manners. It should be a part of your lifestyle. It's a journey toward a greater life, and you don't have to wait for it. You can start feeling grateful now. Thank you for joining me on this Self-Care Saturday episode of Livin the Dream. I really hope it left you inspired, educated, and entertained. May your days be filled with gratitude. Share your knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. And if you enjoyed this content, it helps a ton if you could post on your social media stories a screenshot of this episode and leave one takeaway, one thing that you learned that affected you, that impacted you. You can tag me and share your journey at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. Tell us how you have used gratitude to enhance your life, because we want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Living the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. And I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.